Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to episode 86 of the Accountants Success Secrets podcast. I'm Mark Lee, mentor, speaker and debunker for accountants and founder of the Soul Practice Club.
Yep, and I'm Philippa Haynes, brand strategist for accountants and bookkeepers, helping you to stand out for all the right reasons. And Happy New Year from me as well. We hope you had a wonderful break and a fabulous Christmas.
Yep. Each week we talk to another accountant whose journey we hope will inspire others in practice. Everyone we speak to is different backgrounds, different goals, different reasons for going solo. Oh, that's
that was yours. I was going to say I said all that without my mouth moving. It was amazing.
We never have bloopers.
So we explore their story. I'm now Mark. The highs, the lows, the lessons learned, what makes them tick, and what others can take away.
Our goal is simple: useful insights you can apply straight away. And if you'd like to share your story in a future episode, do get in touch. We're now lining up guests for April onwards. We're fully booked now through to the end of March. Amazing.
Well done, Mark. You've caught up. So here we are. I'm back with me. Today, in our 69th interview, we are delighted to introduce Rachel Chadwick-Harrison, who runs Chadwick Accountants and Bookkeepers in Bidford on Avon. As an accountant, Rachel is both AAT and CIMA qualified. She's also a member of the Chartered Management Institute and recently won AVN's Most Inspiring Accountant Award. Well done to you. She originally started her firm in 2012, but reinvented it in 2021. I want to hear more about that. More recently, her firm has been the winner of AVN's High Profile Practice Award and the Changing Lives Award in 2025. Rachel was recently the cover star of the Coventry and Warwickshire Chamber of Commerce magazine. Brilliant stuff. This is where we learned that she started life in financial services and had a range of other roles. Oh, we're getting really into it now. Before starting her own practice, she quickly had to recruit a team, and even her husband has now joined. With a lot of Google 5-star reviews, she's now got a team of 12 who are servicing clients across a range of sectors. They all come from business backgrounds rather than just having worked in practice. Wow, that is very detailed. We love this.
Welcome.
Changes so quickly.
Yeah.
I think I'm right in saying that 2 teenage kids are included in that count of 12, and I'm guessing that they don't have business backgrounds.
Well, there were actually 16 as of the end of Jan, and
congratulations!
Thank you. One of them is included. She doesn't have a business background, bless her. She just does the scanning at the after school every day. She comes down to the office, does the scanning, and she'll go around and make teas and pick up all the mugs and empty all the little bins and stuff. So it's just good work experience for her.
Absolutely fabulous. I shall tell my son. Anyway, we want to thank our sponsor before we get into it. Pinnacle Global Group, the trusted offshoring partner to over 150 accounting and bookkeeping firms across the UK and Ireland. It's led by London-based chartered accountant Mike Pandya, who has offices in London and Mumbai and a team of over 300 professionals. They provide compliance resourcing from accountants, bookkeepers and payroll admins to tax and audit associates, and they also give value-added support with management accountants, virtual finance controllers, financial analysts and more. They're GDPR compliant, ISO certified, covered by professional indemnity insurance, and offer flexible models, full-time, part-time or pay-as-you-go. You can even start with a trial period or join their sponsored trip to Mumbai to meet the rest of the team in person. And I still want to go. Find out more at www.pinnacleoss.co.uk or click the link wherever you're listening to this podcast.
Also supporting the podcast is the Tax Advice Network. Their website enables accountants to choose specific specialist tax advisors for general tax support or for help across any of over 100 areas of tax. It's free to use. You just pay the tax advisor that you choose after agreeing terms with them, whether for ad hoc advice or for a regular tax clinic type support service for your practice. Go take a look at their website, findataxadvisor.online, where you can also register to get their weekly tax tips, which are written especially for general practitioner accountants.
Yes. And before we start, a reminder, please subscribe to Patreon, where you will get exclusive bonus content. Just download the Patreon app. I'm talking for you, Mark. Subscribe and you'll get the bonus episodes through your usual podcast player. Details are in the show notes. Right, Rachel, let's get back to you and keep the podcast roughly to around 30 minutes. And we do that with some key questions. And Mark, if you're there, you're going first.
Let's get back to the start, Rachel. How and why did you come to set up your own practice?
Oh, I think it was really a twofold thing that happened for me. One was having worked in the corporate world, and I felt like I was just going from toxic work culture to toxic work culture. I felt like I could make this great team that were wonderful and were supported and do a really good job with them, but I couldn't change the ethos of the companies I was working for. And I felt like I just sort of looked after a lot of stuff, I'd let it all come on my head and not on theirs. And I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to work in a place that I feel valued and there isn't discrimination in. Unless I make that place for myself after trying different industries. So that was one big driver. And the other was working in these entities. We worked with accountants and we worked with some big boy accountants, and they were a bit rubbish. I was sort of like, oh my God, you're sending these juniors to check my work, really? And if I wanted advice, and I'd ring them and say, oh, I've seen this tax thing. Can we do this? And, we wouldn't get responses back, or they'd be like, I'm not sure. And I thought, where is the support? Where is the help? And I just thought, we've got a mixture of things here. We've got lack of a decent workplace to be in, and the right proactive accountants just don't seem to be out there. So that I felt like there was a real gap in the market, especially in the middle of a pandemic when people were needing accountants. I mean, like you said yourself, you saw that in 2012. I was just doing a bit of bookkeeping on the side for people. I'd do it on an odd evening, family and friends, and they were all saying to me, oh my God, we need help with this. We need help with furlough. We don't know what grants we can have. Can't you just do it for me? And I was thinking, no, because I need to be regulated and I need to do this and that, and it's not worth it for a few clients. And then I thought, you know what? I could just do this. I could just do this as my job. And, I've got a bunch of people who already would be quite happy to sign up and move accountants. That's a start. I mean, it's not going to pay my mortgage or anything, but it's a start. And so I took the plunge and I gave up the corporate job and off we go.
Well, Rachel, that is amazing. There's two particular sort of strands just to pull out of that briefly before we move on. The first one is, when you started the practice in 2012, had you always intended that it wouldn't be full-time then and you'd carry on with, quote, real jobs, unquote?
That's a really good question. And I never really saw it as a practice. I saw it as a bit of a sole trader bookkeeping thing I was doing on the side. I kind of fell into it as I never went out there to do it. I fell into it when I met. So there was a business partner in a job that I was in, and he left and he said, oh, look, you're really good. Will you just do my books for me? I'll pay you separately for it. And I just thought, oh, a bit of extra money, a bit of holiday money for the family. Yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and do that. And it kind of just snowballed then, because you did it and people knew that you did it, and they would just say, oh, would you mind doing this for my business?
But you had you had sort of full-time roles, finance-related roles, and then post-pandemic, or during the pandemic, you thought, well, actually, there's enough people who want my services. How hard can it be to build up a practice that does pay the mortgage and allow me to earn a living from it? Is that right?
That is right. So I've spent my corporate career often working in really fast-growing companies. A lot of the places I go to, I might come in and we're turnover of 5 million, and leaving 3 years later, they're 50 million. They are rapid growing companies. So I feel like I have a good base knowledge of marketing and growth and how that happens, and just how I could apply that, because I'd gone through it with 4 different companies through my career.
Yeah.
So I felt like I knew it can be done. You've seen it be done. You've seen the fruition. You've grown your own team under it. And I thought, I can do that. Although if you ask my husband, he will swear to you that I said, I am just setting up a business. It's just going to be me, maybe an administrator, and I'm going to have a nice work-life balance. I don't remember saying such a thing, but he says that was apparently the plan.
So tell me now then, or tell us. So from that point of just setting up to kind of where you are now, it sounds to me like it probably hasn't. It's been slightly different than what you expected originally. So tell us a bit about where you are now versus where you expected to be.
Oh, no, that's a really good question, because as an accountant, I think what a lot of us do that a lot of business owners don't is we go, okay, let's make a forecast. Let's make a plan. And, you have these little turnover forecasts where you're going to be. And in year 1, I did 3 times the plan. And
wow.
And just pause just for a second there. How did you get that many clients to enable you to so wonderfully outperform that forecast?
Oh, you've got to speculate to accumulate. You've got to spend money. There's no secret answer. I'm not going around knocking on people's doors. Also, we are a service-based provider. So, we know our accounts, we know our tax, like this is a service we provide. We need to recognize that we're not marketers. We're not PR specialists. We're not IT people. We're not HR. And we need to pay for those services. And what I did was I paid for lead gen. And what I also did was, again, something I picked up from the corporate career, was checking that was working, that I was getting the value from it. And when it stopped working, change it and do something else. And that is a constant evolving thing that I still do now. I don't stick with the same marketing plan every month. I'm analyzing it every month. How is it done? What was our return on investment? Okay, that's going well. We'll continue with that. Oh, that's dropping off. Should we do something else? Should we tweak something? And it's just about making sure you're getting that return on investment. But people, especially accountants, are afraid of risk. They're afraid of spending. And
Can you just give me an example of that, where you sort of looked at something, it began to fall off, so you changed, just so that, because I love this, it's a great lesson for everybody out there. And of course, given that I'm a marketing person, this is music to my ears. But just give us a little example of what you went into and then it stopped working, and so what you did as a consequence, if you don't mind divulging.
Not at all. Perfect example for you. So the first thing I did with lead gen was I engaged a cold call marketing company, cold emails. They would send out loads of cold emails, and every time they gave me a lead, I got charged an amount of money for that lead. And I had an agreed parameters with them of what those leads would look like. Obviously there's the things that about sales, that you have to act on leads straight away. They're hot for the first 10 minutes, they're warm for a couple of days, and then they're pointless. You paid for nothing. And the first 6-7 months were really good, and the leads were really great quality. I was getting some great meetings. My conversion rate was good. And then I was looking at the next month and going, okay, we've had X amount of leads in. They actually didn't fit the parameters. I asked specifically for limited companies, and these were sole traders. That's not what I was agreed, and going back to the provider and then going, okay, we're going to credit you for those and we'll do it better. And it didn't improve. And then me turning around and going, okay, it's time for me to move companies, because this lead generation, although it's fantastic, I think it got me 90 grand's worth of business in the first 3 months. Of annual recurring, but in the next 4 months it hasn't made money for me. So I can't just keep paying for stuff that I'm not getting, and I need to change and look at other options. And I would always look at more than one option. I would look at a few options, see what guarantees are in place for me. Because you can sign up and get as many leads, but they need to fit certain parameters for you. And if they don't fit those parameters, you need to challenge that company and say, you're not actually delivering what we've agreed here.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I guess, I don't know, I'm throwing this out there, but I suspect what happened was they found the low-hanging fruit. You know, those easy ones that they kind of thought, well, you know, they're bingo, that's bob on. But then actually to go that sort of level down and start to look elsewhere, that's where it gets quite difficult. Maybe, yeah.
I think you did very well to get that much work through that service over just a few months, because quite often they say that they're going to learn with you how to to get the right ones.
Yes.
And don't get great results in the first month or two, etc., etc. I think your style has a lot to commend it, Rachel. So coming back to Philippa's question, where's the practice now compared to where you thought it might be when you started? By the way, I'm absolutely sure your husband is wrong, because when I have a different recollection to my wife, I have learned to accept that her recollection is the right one and not mine.
Oh, wise words were never said. Brill.
For a moment.
So where are we compared to where we planned to be? Well, I didn't plan the 4.5 years in, to be fair. I did 3-year plan, but realistically, I think I thought I would maybe have a couple of team members, you know, a smallish base. You know, when I originally started, it was in the back bedroom, and then I expanded into our garage, and I would have the team come to the garage, and eventually I actually converted the garage into an office to do so. And we outgrew that pretty sharpish. We're miles ahead of where I ever expected to be. I mean, what I thought my job would be is different. You know, I thought my job would predominantly be delivering to clients. And now I realize 50% of my job is selling and bringing clients on board and settling them in. And then there's a good chunk of my job that is on the high level strategic work. And there's a proportion of the job that's on developing the team and getting them to be better and getting them to deliver more. So I think, you know, I would have thought I would be delivering client work, I'd be having happy clients, and it would be fairly small scale. And the reality is I'm driving a business forward, and that's not really what I thought I'd be doing, but I love it. So
well, I think that's beautifully articulated. Actually, what you find yourself doing now is what you should be doing. Just, you know, and you know that as well as anybody, given that you've come from the corporate world. So that's absolutely brilliant. So, I mean, I guess one of the questions from all of that is, what have you learned, you know, about yourself or about accounting or about whatever, you know, or about business ownership
and building practice?
Yeah,
we'll learn loads of things. I do think one of the number one things I like to tell clients is, you know, asking them what they think their job is and then telling them what their job is.
I like that.
You know, it very much is that. I think the biggest thing that I have learned about practice, because for me, I'd never worked in practice before, never. And for me, the biggest thing that I learned was it's not the deadlines that are important and getting the work out the door and the delivery. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the rapport you have with the clients. And I didn't know that when I first started out. And I think a lot of my team didn't know that when they started. It's now forms part of the interview process to ask them what they think is the most important thing about working in practice, because there is this thought process that that's all it is. It's, you know, compliance at door next, like a conveyor belt of things, but it's actually those relationships with the clients that is by far the most important thing about your job.
And that's interesting, because you're obviously doing this interview with us at the beginning of January, where, as Mark said, you know, some people wouldn't be able to do that because they would be crashing around at this important time of year. But obviously you are here, so it's not just about getting things out of the door. As you said, it's about much, much more than that.
Yes, there's still a lot that has to go out the door. As well, don't worry, we're not
doing your swan then, where it's all looking great on the top, and then you're
Peddling underneath.
Peddling.
Yeah, particularly for the sort of size of practice that you've grown to, you do have quite a range of clients, and that's also clear from the range of packages available on your website as well, from sole traders up to multi-million-pound businesses. So I'd be surprised if you had a huge number of sole traders where you're trying to get returns out now, but maybe they're directors as well who've been a bit slow.
There are definitely a lot of directors that and it's just like, we just want your bank interest. That's all I want. I just want your bank interest to put it on here. I've been wanting this since May.
Well, I'll repeat my big tip for clients like that, which is, accountants always invariably say, I finally got it when I phoned them in January. So I go, why don't you phone them earlier in the year? Because maybe they're neurodiverse and don't respond well to multiple emails. It's a side issue. You must have made some mistakes along the way, Rachel. Are you able to share any mistakes and what you learned from them and how you corrected them?
Oh, definitely. We all make mistakes in any business, don't we?
Yep.
From financial, from thinking the flat rate scheme will work for you and then it doesn't. And those ones you think, I probably should have been able to predict that, but I didn't. Those are definitely mistakes that have been made. But some mistakes that you could definitely learn from. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made was not investing in a really good CRM system from the start. That was a huge mistake looking back. I did what I'm sure lots of people do. You start with a spreadsheet. You only got a few clients. You can manage all the deadlines, etc. And then when it starts to get really difficult, you just pick a product, and didn't really spend enough time looking at all the different things on market, and didn't realize actually what I picked wasn't suitable for the scale that we were going, and actually cost us a lot more money than had I picked a better product first off. And the migration is painful.
Oh, yes.
It's painful.
So what would you say were the key questions? You're welcome to share the name, the old one, the new one, or whatever, if you want to. But what would you say were the things that you realized subsequently you should have considered before you first jumped into a CRM system? Do you remember?
Yes, I do know the real key ones that were missing. I mean, obviously, you want it to have all your deadlines and your workflows and that sort of stuff. And most of them have that pretty good.
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest one missing for us was like budgeted time and having the time allocated against that, so I could actually see if clients are being profitable or not profitable, because we do a lot of ours on fixed price work. I know a lot of people don't necessarily do that. There does seem to be a sort of a 50-50 split in accountants who just bill for their time and those who do fixed price. I find that clients like to know how much they're going to be spending. Okay. I like to know how much I'm getting in every month, but obviously that's got to work both ways.
I mean, didn't I see somewhere on your website, which surprised me, I suppose, that one of your pitches is that clients should see their fees falling as a result of their accountants using more technology, something like that?
Yes, and it should do realistically. When I have clients come, prospects, and they say, "Oh, I don't want to pay for decks," and I go, "Well, I'm not going to quote you because the bookkeeping will take a lot longer.
Yeah,
it will take a lot longer." And if you've got, we've definitely had clients who've had, a bookkeeper who does everything manually, and they put it all in, and then they're paying that much, and then our price per hour will be more expensive, but overall they pay less, because I'm asking you to pay £15 a month towards a DEX license. That means it speeds everything up, and to connect your bank to your software, very simple things that can really speed up the bookkeeping. And yes, your price should fall if you adapt these things, but we just don't want them to have to pay that additional fee, and we don't want to be keying it in either. That's just a waste of our time when these products are on the market. So if they won't take it, I say, "Oh, you can go to another
I thought it was probably quite a clever pitch, because although it sort of implies we're going to be cheaper than the person you're currently paying, in practice, it's ensuring that that targets are keen and willing to use technology and to have technology. And I don't imagine for one moment you're going for the cheapest clients and offering the cheapest fees compared to your competitors. Are you?
No. If clients are really price sensitive, I just that it's not a good fit, is it?
No.
No, and you've got to be worth the value to them. You do get clients who do come from little sole traders who do things for sort of less than minimum wage, and you just think, well, they're not really valuing themselves and their own service there, are they? Yeah, and that's for them to discover. But if those clients can take advantage of that, that's fine. But with a bigger practice like ourselves, we say we're not really a big practice, are we? But you have a lot of expertise. You have all people who've worked in industry, who know businesses, how they are run. And the one thing we will talk about is efficiency, systems, process, just driving everything forward.
Yeah, I can see how that would be appealing to decent clients rather than the penny pinchers, as you say.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, but in many ways, it's kind of self-regulating, isn't it? Because if prospects are reading that and they kind of go, I'm not really that big or something like that, then hopefully they won't get in touch. Whereas for those people who do understand that and think that's exactly what I need, then you've got the right people. So a bit of a win-win. I mean, it's always best to be very clear about what you do and what you don't do.
To be fair, when you talk about lessons learned, I think that's another really good one. At the start, it's so tempting to take every piece of business that comes your way. And I did. And
everybody does.
Everybody does. And now you're still trying to offboard some that you really shouldn't have took in the first place. And I'm a lot pickier now about who I will take. And like you say, it's about pre-qualifying those leads and sometimes saying, look, you're not quite ready for us now. But when you are, we're here, and keeping those leads warm in the meantime as they grow. But yeah, I think that would be a great piece of advice if you could do that and just set those boundaries early on, what you are willing to do, what's your ideal client look like, and not deviate from it too much. You make your life a lot easier later down the line. Where I'm sure I'm in the same boat as many other people are in their first 5 years.
Well, you are in that regard. But where you are very different and you're in a much better place is you just said keeping in touch or keeping those prospects warm, even if they go somewhere else, because you've got your podcast, you've got your blog, you're out there in a way that they're going to remain reminded about you being there. And if the accountant they go to isn't providing the sort of service that they heard you promising and anticipating, of course they're going to come back at a future point, and they're not going to go looking anywhere else. They're going, hey, you know what, actually I've grown a bit or whatever, or I've learned my lesson, I will go back and talk to Rachel now. I think that's a great place to be.
And we do get so many of them that do come back, and I love it when they do. Some of them it's ones I spoke to early in 2021 who at the time some of them they didn't trust us because we were new, and some of them they didn't want to pay for that now, and they wanted something else, and they thought they could do it themselves, and then by keeping them warm, keeping those newsletters coming in with interesting information for them, I'm keeping top of mind, and accountancy sales is all about the right timing with people. And the minute their current accountant has annoyed them, it's, Rachel's good. Rachel says this. Rachel would have known about this. In fact, it was Rachel's tax advice piece that made me go back to my own accountant and ask questions. It is a really powerful tool. And that's something I did early on. And I definitely think that's something I definitely recommend. You can sit there and think, oh my God, is a newsletter really worth my time and energy? And I remember when I did my 12th one, thinking, it's been a year. I don't think I've actually seen any return off this newsletter. Is this really worth my time? And a couple months later, I got someone come through and say, oh, I'm ready now. And it was just like, bang, a couple of grand in the bank. And I thought that was worth my time and effort for the past year.
Exactly. I have that. I do a weekly newsletter, and every now and again somebody will come to me and say, I've been reading your newsletters for the last 10 years. I've had that twice.
Blimey, yeah.
Isn't it? It's lovely.
I think one of the interesting things, though, that you've said about that is some people would get the hump if they went elsewhere, and it would be like, well, okay then. But I mean, what you've basically done is kept their details and then just brought them into the fold, even though they decided to go elsewhere. And that's kind of different, isn't it? Because I mean, we can all put out newsletters here, there and everywhere with kind of lists and stuff, but actually having the presence of mind to think, well, they're not ready for us yet, or they've chose not to, but even so we're going to remain in touch, I think is a great piece of advice.
Definitely. I do think there's a couple of other pieces of advice there. When you have your newsletters, often you get the thing that says so and so many unsubscribed. People get really offended by it. I think, no, they're not your clients. They're going to be your clients. They don't need to hear your voice. They're just people you're not speaking to anymore. That's absolutely fine. Just accept it. And, rejection is natural. And it can be so hard hearing those no's, or even hearing, oh, I think that's expensive. And I'm always like, okay, absolutely fine. Go get a few other quotes. We are still here. Come back to us. And you have to have faith in your own service. There are a lot of accountants out there, and you'll have your own USP. You'll have your own differentiator. And if that resonates with the client, they're the client for you. If it doesn't resonate with them, then you're not the accountant for them anyways. They have a better fit elsewhere. And don't we do this because we want to work with people that we like, that we get along with, that we share the values with?
Oh, so true. We could talk forever, and I'm sure you'd share even more valuable advice and insight.
Which is going to shortly.
We'll come back to that, but before we do that, Philippa, do you have anything that you pick up on particularly that? But just before we ask Rachel to share her contact details, and then we move over to Patreon, anything that you think helps make Chadwick Accountants and Bookkeepers really unique and successful from your perspective?
Well, I mean, I think Rachel has spoken for herself, to be honest, and her last kind of comment really does encapsulate, what is really important, which is knowing your niche and, not being for everybody and having confidence, etc., etc. I think that's what I've pulled out. I mean, I can talk about the corporate background and how everybody has more business kind of experience in your practice, which I think is really important as well. So there's a lot there that would definitely send me over to Chadwick, because it's really clear that you have a good pitch there.
Yeah, absolutely right. Rachel, just before we move on, how can listeners find out more about you and Chadwick Accountants and Bookkeepers?
Well, they can contact us via the website, and they can send us an email at info@chadwickaccountants.co.uk. If they want to listen to me bang on a bit more, they can look up the podcast. It's called FFS, for finance's sake. You can find it on all of the platforms if you really want to listen to me drone on a bit more.
I'm sure it's not droning. And in our extra bonus interview for Patreon subscribers only, we'll be asking you to talk about the biggest challenges that you're currently facing in your practice and how you're addressing them and how you're integrating or resisting AI in your practice. But before that, Philippa, how can listeners find out more about you and Insight 101?
LinkedIn is the best place to find me, and that is if you are yourself looking for your niche or a means of standing out and knowing who you are and who you want to work with. That's what it's all about, essentially, knowing who is your ideal client. If that's you and you need to be much clearer about it, then do get in touch with me. And Mark, what about you?
Well, online everywhere. I'm Bookmark Lee. Even the business card is a bookmark. I know that running a practice can feel lonely even when things look fine. If you don't have a partner, be that family or in business, and you want clarity, better clients, calmer days, I'm always happy to talk, no pressure. But do feel free to get in touch. I have a weekly email, as I also publish it on LinkedIn as well, where I'm always sharing valuable content. Well, accountants tell me it's valuable advice, insights and tips, as well as a longer blog on my own website. But do please feel free to connect both with Philippa and with me on LinkedIn, and follow the podcast on LinkedIn, Facebook and Patreon.
Yeah, but that's all we have time for today on the main podcast. Thanks very much, Rachel, for your time so far.
Yeah.
Our thanks again to the sponsors of the podcast, Pinnacle Global Group, your trusted outsourcing partner. Please check out their website and let their CEO, Mayank, know that you heard about Pinnacle Global on this podcast.
And thanks too to the Tax Advice Network, the easiest way for accountants to reach specialist tax advisors. Remember, there's no charge for using the website findataxadvisor.online, where you can also access their weekly tax tips written especially for general practitioner accountants.
So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share and leave a review. It makes a real difference. And also contact Mark or myself if you'd like to be interviewed on a future episode. We would really love to hear from you for 2026.
Our guest next week will be Chris Maslin, who set up his firm Maslins in 2009 and recently transferred ownership of it to an employee ownership trust. Although we won't focus on that, I'm sure it will come up. Before then, we're going to get further insights from Rachel for our Patreon subscribers. So please head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/accountants success secret, singular. So, annoying reasons there. That's where you'll hear about the biggest challenges that Rachel's currently facing and her approach to them. And otherwise, until next week or anywhere else we might meet online or in real life, although there's not much of that with accountants in January, I know. Good luck and bye-bye for now.
Bye.